If I only had $500, these were the best 4K TVs that I would buy. Hisense U65QF. This one really surprised me with how bright and colorful it gets for a TV at this price point. It genuinely punches above its weight in a well-lit room. In my experience, this is the TV you get for the living room where you can't always control the lighting. I had it running on a sunny afternoon and the picture remained vibrant and clear, handling glare from windows much better than I expected. The colors are poppy and the contrast gives you some nice deep blacks. However, when I took it into a completely dark room for a movie night, I did notice some visible blooming or halo effects around bright objects and subtitles, which can be a little distracting. It runs on the Fire TV OS, which is fine, but I personally miss the flexibility of Google TV that you find on some competitors. For someone who does most of their TV watching during the day or in rooms with ambient light and want a bright dynamic picture for a great price, this is an excellent pick. TCL55QM6K. The TCL55QM6K is without a doubt the TV I'd point any gamer towards in this budget range. Hooking my gaming PC to this was a game changer. The 144Hz refresh rate and HDMI 2.1 support are features you just don't expect to find at this price, and it makes gameplay feel incredibly smooth and responsive. For movie lovers, I found its real strength is in a dark room where its fantastic contrast and black levels create a really immersive picture with very accurate colors. It made watching darker films like The Batman a great experience, with details in the shadows coming through clearly. The trade-off is that it doesn't get nearly as bright as the Hisense, so HDR content doesn't have that same impressive pop, and it can struggle a bit more with reflections in a bright room. Also, the built-in speakers are pretty average, so you'll want to budget for a soundbar. This is the ideal TV for gamers or movie enthusiasts who prioritize input performance and picture accuracy in a controlled, darker environment over sheer brightness. If it were my $500, I would buy the TCL55QM6K because its superior gaming features and more accurate picture for movies feel like a more complete package, even if it doesn't get quite as bright as the Hisense. If I only had $1,000, these are the 4K TVs that I would buy. LG B465-inch. This is the TV that brings OLED's perfect blacks and incredible contrast to a price point that feels almost like a steal. In my experience, watching movies in a dark room is where the B4 truly comes alive. The colors are vibrant and lifelike, and there's absolutely no blooming around subtitles or bright objects on a dark background. I was particularly impressed with how it handled dark scenes in shows, delivering deep natural blacks without any of the grayness you see on the other TVs. However, it's not without its trade-offs. The screen is quite reflective, and the TV doesn't get bright enough to overcome glare in a sunny room, so I wouldn't recommend it for daytime viewing without some good curtains. For gamers though, it's a fantastic choice with its 120Hz panel and support for both G-Sync and FreeSync, making fast-paced action feel incredibly smooth. The LG B4 is the perfect pick for cinephiles and gamers who have a light-controlled room and prioritize that stunning OLED picture quality above all else. TCL65QM7K. The TCL65QM7K is a prime example of how good Mini LED technology has become. And honestly, it's a powerhouse for bright rooms. The first thing I noticed was just how much brighter it gets compared to OLEDs in this price range, which makes a huge difference when you're watching TV during the day. HDR content in particular really pops with impressive highlights. TCL's Halo Control tech does a surprisingly good job with minimizing the blooming effect around bright objects, which has been a nagging issue for Mini LEDs I've tested in the past. While the picture is vibrant, I did find the screen to be reflective, which can be a bit distracting. For gaming, this TV is a beast, boasting a 144Hz refresh rate that gives you a slight edge in competitive titles. This TCL is the go-to option for people who want a versatile TV that looks great in any lighting condition and for gamers who want the highest refresh rate possible for the money. If I had to spend my $1,000, I would buy the LG B4 because I mostly watch movies at night and nothing beats the perfect black levels and cinematic quality of an OLED display in a dark room. If I only had $1,500, these are the 4K TVs that I would buy. Samsung S90D 65 inches. This is the TV that made me a believer in just how bright and vibrant an OLED can get without breaking the bank. In my testing, the S90D delivered some of the most impressive color volume I've seen, hitting nearly 91% of the Rec 2020 color space, which is incredibly rare and translates to stunningly rich and lifelike images. The Quantum Dot OLED panel really shines, providing incredible contrast and perfect black levels that make movies in a dark room a theatrical experience. It's also a gaming powerhouse with its 144Hz refresh rate and ridiculously low 9.2 ms input lag in game mode. I was surprised by how thin the design is, with a barely there bezel that looks sleek and modern. However, it's not perfect. The Tizen OS can feel a bit clunky compared to other smart platforms, and the biggest drawback for cinephiles is the lack of Dolby Vision support. For anyone who wants the absolute punchiest, most colorful and bright HDR picture for movies and gaming, this is the one to get. LG C4 65 inches. The LG C4 is the dependable all-around champion that just gets everything right. When I first set it up, I was immediately struck by its authentic and natural picture quality. It's sharp and vibrant without feeling overprocessed. Watching movies with Dolby Vision is a treat, delivering a cinematic experience with incredible detail, especially in dark scenes. For gamers, it's a dream, offering flawless specs like 144Hz refresh rate and a suite of gaming features that make gameplay feel incredibly smooth. The WebOS Smart Platform is a joy to use, it's fast, intuitive, and the Magic Remote makes navigating a breeze. My main gripe is that it doesn't get quite as searingly bright as some QD OLED competitors, and while it handles reflections well, direct glare can be a bit distracting. It's the perfect TV for someone who values a balanced true-to-life picture for all kinds of content, from movies to sports and gaming, and want a user-friendly experience. If I had to spend my own $1,500, I would buy the Samsung S90D because its superior brightness and more vibrant color volume deliver that extra wow factor for HDR content that I can't resist. If I only had $2,000, these are the 4K TVs that I would buy. Sony A95L. Honestly, the A95L is the TV that comes closest to ruining other displays for me, because it looks so effortlessly right, straight out of the box. In my experience, most TVs need some tweaking to get the colors and motion looking natural, but Sony's processing here is just masterful. Skin tones look actual, like skin, and fast-moving scenes are incredibly clear without that weird, artificial soap opera effect. The brightness is stunning, especially with HDR content, making highlights pop in a way that feels incredibly realistic. What really surprised me was the sound. It's the first TV I've tested in a long time where I didn't immediately feel the need to hook up a soundbar. My main frustration is the design. The feet are set so wide you need a massive media console for it, and having only two HDMI 2.1 ports and this price feels like an unnecessary compromise. It's the perfect TV for the cinephile who wants uncompromising picture and sound quality without spending hours in the settings menu. Samsung S90F OLED. The Samsung S90F is the smart money pick that gets you 90% of the flagship performance for a fraction of the cost. When I first fired this up, the sheer vibrancy and punch of the QD OLED panel were immediately obvious. Colors are incredibly vivid, and the brightness makes HDR content an absolute spectacle. For gaming, this TV is a dream. I hooked up my console and PC and was blown away by the responsiveness. It supports up to 4K at 144Hz with variable refresh rates on all 4 HDMI ports, which is a massive win for anyone with multiple next-gen devices. Where it falls a bit short compared to the Sony's in the picture processing, which can feel a little less refined, and the out-of-the-box color accuracy isn't quite as natural. The built-in audio is also just passable. You'll definitely want a soundbar to match the incredible visuals. This is the one for gamers and people who want a dazzling bright picture that really pops and offers a full suite of cutting-edge gaming features. If it were by $2,000, I'd buy the Samsung S90F because its gaming features are more comprehensive and the picture quality is so close to the premium competition that the price difference makes it the undeniable value champion. Now it gets interesting. If I had a limited amount of money to spend on a 4K TV, here's what I would buy. Samsung S95F OLED. Honestly, this is the TV that made me a believer in watching movies in a bright room again. The S95F's party trick is its matte QD OLED screen, and in my testing, it just devours reflections in a way that's almost watchcraft, letting those incredible vibrant colors pop even with a window wide open. For gaming, it's an absolute dream machine. Plugging in my PC and getting a 165Hz refresh rate felt incredibly fluid, and having 4 full HDMI 2.1 ports means no swapping cables between consoles. The picture has this punchy, almost 3-dimensional quality that makes everything look intensely real. My main gripe is the lack of Dolby Vision, which is a miss for movie purists, and I found the AI picture modes could be a bit aggressive, so I just turned them off. It's the perfect TV for a hardcore gamer who wants the absolute best of their consoles and PC, or for anyone whose living room is flooded with natural light. Sony Bravia 9. The Bravia 9 is all about raw, almost overwhelming power and cinematic intelligence. The first time I fired this mini LED up, the sheer brightness was staggering. HDR highlights in films have an intensity that I haven't seen outside of a professional mastering studio. Where Sony's magic really shows is in the processing. It takes older, lower quality streams and cleans them up beautifully, producing a natural film-like image without that overly sharpened artificial look. The built-in sound system also genuinely surprised me, with up-firing speakers that create a sense of height and dimension you just don't expect from a TV. However, for serious gamers, it falls a bit short of the competition with only 2 HDMI 2.1 ports and a lower refresh rate, and I did notice some motion blur during fast-paced gaming sessions. This is the TV for the dedicated movie buff who prioritizes picture accuracy and wants the most impactful HDR experience possible, especially in a bright room. So, if it were my money, I'd buy the Samsung S95F because its combination of elite gaming features and the revolutionary anti-glare screen is simply an unmatched all-around package for how I use a TV every day. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you pick the best 4K TVs for you. If you have any questions, drop a comment below. Links to all of the products mentioned in this video will be in the description. Alright, peace out.